There are so many exciting ways humans can restore nature. Some efforts are small, some big, and some have the potential to be really big. When it comes to rewilding, we really do have opportunities almost everywhere throughout our landscapes, and we need to be doing all of them. Today, I've come to show you a project that is pretty big in itself, but what's really exciting is how this brings the best out of what you typically consider an ecological dead zone: roads. So this is the Wimborne Relief Road. Apologies for the noise, it's quite a noisy road. This is one of Britain's wildest roads, and this isn't because of the speed which cars drive down here, although they are going quite quick. This isn't because of the oddball characters you can find along the side of the road either. I mean, I've seen a fair few, you're probably looking at one right now. This road is wild because of this. The roadside verge which align this road are some of the best examples of wild roadside verges in the UK. This project saw the creation of the beautiful and rare chalky wildflower verges. There's also several wildlife crossings along this road, and there's also been improvements to the wider area through things like tree planting, hedgerow planting, and also creating ponds. Now, all of this was created relatively recently. The Wimborne Relief Road was completed back in 2011, and it was primarily done to improve transport between Weymouth and Dorchester. And while this is a great example of how to create a new wild road, when it comes to rewilding existing road verges, it has to be done a little bit differently in order to maximize it and fully realize the scale of things. But first, let's discuss why the Wimborne Relief Road is so significant. Yes, on the face of it, this is turning a typical ecological dead zone into something which is truly working for nature. It's working directly for your pollinating insects, your bees and your butterflies, and all of the countless other invertebrates and the animals around them in the ecosystem. So the birds, the small mammals, there's no doubt reptiles in here, and amphibians as well. And these verges, they align the roads so they become wildlife corridors in their own right. These are so valuable in landscapes which are otherwise hostile, so you've got a lot of agricultural land around here, and also it's very good for linking up existing pockets of habitat. But what I think is most significant is this habitat here represents one which we've almost entirely lost from the UK: wildflower meadows. Over the past century, we've lost something like 97% of all of our wildflower meadows. That is a really significant loss in a short amount of time. This acute decline of a tremendously beautiful but also ecological habitat has seen the decline of pollinating insects by 1/3 since the 1980s, and who knows how much they've been declining since before that time. And bees, we all know that bees are one of our most important pollinators, not just here in Britain, but globally. And we all know that saying that without bees, us humans, we just wouldn't exist. But what does that actually mean? Well, you see, it's all in the act of pollination, which in other words can be thought of as reproduction for plants. Because you see, plants, they have male and female parts on the flowers, the stamens and the ovules. Now, some plants can self-pollinate and they can make this connection together, but some can't, and they require either wind or pollinating insects. So I like to think of our butterflies and our bees as the wingman which facilitate this connection between the male and the female parts of the flower, and in exchange they get a tasty sugary drink. And you see, it's our insect pollinators which are responsible for propping up our food production, both of what we eat and what we feed to livestock. And they're also responsible for running our ecosystems. Without bees, plants can't exist, and without plants, humans can't exist. And with pollinating insects severely declining, we really do have a massive responsibility on our hands to ensure that we're not just rewilding our most natural spaces, but also our man-made ones too. Another great example of how we can do this is Planet Wild's project to rewild power lines. This is just another brilliant example of a project which has immense scale. If you haven't already, you can check out their awesome YouTube video on this, which I'll link in the description. Throughout Europe alone, there's over 500,000 hectares of power lines, which cut through forests, leaving empty, degraded land beneath them. By following a three-part rewilding process of creating insect highways with native rich plants, wildlife refuge with rock shelters, and mini wetlands through creating ponds, these ugly power lines become a place for nature to thrive. If you didn't know, Planet Wild is a community-driven rewilding organization based in Berlin. They're restoring nature on a global scale, and every month there's a new rewilding mission which they showcase over on their awesome YouTube channel. Anyone can be a part of this and fund rewilding projects around the world. You don't have to give much in order to start, just give what you can, big or small, because it all counts. When we come together, we can have a greater impact, and that's what Planet Wild offers. Each of us alone can't do much, but imagine if thousands of people stood behind initiatives like Planet Wild. I'm already a member myself, and I can tell you that I'm a big fan of everything they do and share with us as a community. And here's a special offer for you. The first 150 people to sign up using the QR code on the screen now or using the link below will get their first month paid for free by me. So you can sign up now and you can begin helping nature without paying anything. I'll leave a link to this in the description of the video, and if you don't feel like supporting Planet Wild anymore, you can cancel any time. It's this joined up approach and the coming together of like-minded individuals is how we're actually going to restore nature at scale, and that's why I support Planet Wild. Now, while this wildflower verge does still look pretty epic, regrettably I'm not here in the height of spring and early summer because they have these pyramid orchids here which are just staggeringly beautiful. And they're not here now. I mean, most stuff here has gone to seed now. Now, I really am no botanist, but I think we've got some wild carrot here, which is trying to put on a show. And really, all wildflowers thrive in poor quality soils. And that's how the Wimborne Relief Road Verges were created and how any new roadside verges should be created. It's a very chalky, very sandy, very nutrient poor soils. And the management of this is pretty infrequent. I think it can be cut once a year. It really depends where you are. I think certain areas along here are actually grazed once a year. There's some areas where there's livestock fencing too. But when it comes to rewilding our existing roadside verges, what's the best practice? Should we try to alter the soil to something which is chalky and like lower nutrient? And I don't think so. This is going to be pretty expensive and quite time consuming. Really, many of our roadside verges are trying their best to flourish and come up, but we have a bit of a habit of just over managing them. Here in Dorset, they have some great initiatives across their roadside verges. Just driving around, you often see wild patches with signage signifying what's going on. And this really is a great time to bring in the ecological idea, the shifting baseline syndrome. I could near enough talk about this in any video that we make here on Leave Curious. And it's the idea that the current generation has forgotten how the landscapes used to look. Because we've lost so much of our natural habitats here in the UK, including wildflower meadows, we've come to kind of accept this as the norm. Our baseline for wildness and naturalness is kind of down here at the minute, and we need to change that. Today, the culture in the UK, I mean, I don't know if this is true for where you're from, but the culture in the UK has kind of come to expect neat and tidy mown verges. And to be honest, it doesn't really do an awful lot for me. I mean, what would you rather walk and drive along? Tightly mown, cut dead grass, or thriving wildflower verges? I mean, for me, it really is a no-brainer. Really, the key thing is just to try and increase diversity of our roadside verges, and we do that by bringing down the nutrient levels. When we do cut them, we have to remove the cuttings because leaving them in place only increases the nutrient levels of the soil. And introducing species like yellow rattle can actually limit grass growth and give other plants an opportunity to come up. There are many ways of managing our roadside verges, from biodiversity buzz cuts to just cutting them once on an annual basis. I love that, biodiversity buzz cuts. There's lots of great information out there, and what I'm going to do is in the description of the video, I'm going to link loads of useful resources which you can go and read about in greater detail if you wish. Obviously, there are a lot of challenges ahead with something like this, but look, if we can do it here and it's happening in other places, why can't it happen everywhere? And we really do have to be rewilding everywhere as fast as we can. Whether if it's roadside verges or power lines, when we come together, we will do it much faster. So do consider signing up to Planet Wild. Remember, the first 150 people to sign up will get their first month paid for by free. Just use the QR code on the screen now, or use the code Curious8, and there'll be a link in the description of the video. And if you've got this far in the video, then please do subscribe to Leave Curious. I'm actually kind of looking forward to getting off this busy road now. As cool as this project is, I'm gonna get going. So thank you so much for watching. Leave Curious.